Welcome to the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, your guide to motorsports sponsorship. Here's your host, Josh Weesey.
Welcome to the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, live experience. Today's episode is featuring Jared Heshka of MBRP Powersports. Jared has been on the show 2 other times in the past and absolutely crushed it each time. Now, this show, though, was recorded on Facebook Live, so the audio is not quite the best, and quite honestly, we ran into the most technical difficulties I think I've ever experienced, at least in my 20 episodes that I've done with Facebook Live. Either way, stick with us on this one. We were able to get everything connected. I cleaned up a lot of the technical issues, but I left some of it in there because it's kind of funny. To really appreciate a live experience, you have to know some of the difficulties. So I left some of those things in there. If you really want to listen to just Jared's part of the interview, go ahead and scroll forward. I think it's about 9 minutes and 33 seconds in. All right, that's it. I'm going to hop into the live show. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to this episode of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast live experience. We get my microphone plugged in and we are going to get rolling here. All right, well, welcome again. Gosh, I'm excited to be here. This is actually our 20th show. I'm going to throw this MBRP flag over there. I got this one here behind me. Keep my chair warm. But this show here, 20th episode, it is again brought to you by AMSOIL. The show is powered by AMSOIL. And this specific live experience is brought to you by GSP XTV axles. If you're listening to audio only version, you can't see me pointing behind me. I got a picture of the new GSP Revolutionary axle. And first thing, point out gold color. Next thing I got to point out down here is Vicky Golden, who is just on the show. We just released her episode this morning, also gold. So nice little theme here. You can all thank me later for that. Oh, looks like Kevin Spangler just said I am way zoomed in unless on purpose. That is not on purpose. So I don't know if I'll try to make an adjustment there, see if that fixes it. All right. I already kind of gave you some insights as to who's coming on the show here. Got the hat on, got the flag going. MBRP rep Jared Heshka is coming back on the show. He's already watching too. So welcome, Jared. Thanks for joining right away, being the first one on. We are going to be talking about brand loyalty and what that really means for your program. There's some pros to it. There's a lot of pros to it. There's a couple of cons. We're going to talk about all of those things. We're going to talk about, have you been with the company long enough? Too long? How do you even know those things? We're going to talk all about that. We got some more people coming on. Scott Sparrow, thanks. Looks like Scott's saying it's looking good for him. Looks like Kevin said it's good. So it must have been zoomed in for a minute there. Thanks for commenting to get those things fixed. And, oh, thanks. Scott said, well, it's as good as you can look. I got you. I got you, Scott. All right. Well, a few more things. As you're watching this show, please invite your friends, share, comment, leave a little emoji, maybe a GIF. Or if you're watching later, go ahead and put hashtag replay down so I know that you're watching it afterwards. And then most importantly, leave questions in the comments. If you have never seen one of these live shows before, what we do, we go through the intro, we bring on the guests, we talk to them a little bit about the topic, and then we go into a Q&A. So if you don't get your questions right away, we'll come back later and answer those questions. All right. Again, as people are joining us, Rohan is on from Australia. Spangler, Mark Shea, Matt Howson, welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and bring Jared on. So Jared, again, make sure you got this thing in landscape mode, and then make sure that you got your headphones in, and we are going to add you on here. Oh, connection failed. What? Let's try this again. Let's try this one more time. Connection failed. All right. Now, this is not the first time we've run into a technical issue on this show. So I might have to drop this one and hop right back on. All right, folks. We're at it again. This is take 3. with Jared Heshka of MBRP. And this one doesn't work. I'm running out of options. I'm running out of options tonight. So I got my backup phone, rolling backup style. My trusty old Galaxy S9 might be failing me. We'll see if this one works, though. But hey, I got this thing, too. Hey, maybe this will work. We got all sorts of toys and gadget gizmos and things like that we can try. But Chris, what's going on? Welcome. Matt, welcome back. You all are some dedicated folks sticking with me. Yeah, lucky number 3. Lucky number 3. Well, while we were messing around a little bit here, Jared and I talked briefly on Facebook Messenger, so we had a quick video call. So we know that his phone is working. We're able to connect that way. We're just not able to get him on this way. But, hey, we'll do what we need to do. All right, and once Jared gets back on here, we will go ahead and try it again. Well, hey, I'll just tell you the last time I got to hang out with Jared, actually, and the last time I got to hang out with a couple people on this call was at Heydays. So, Sean, you were there too, buddy. Man, Heydays was a great event. We got to hang out with the AMSOIL crew, 4x4 Barbie, David Fisher. My brother was there. We were with HMK, John Farian, Sean Endel. I don't know. Everybody, man. We were just living it up the dream. So, well, hey, I'm going to get rolling on a couple of topics here while we wait for Jared to come back on. So there he is. Actually, maybe I can add him. Because, again, we are going to be talking about brand loyalty. And, look at this. I'm getting a good sign saying adding. Let's see if it works. Yeah, Matt House, and I hope you are at Heydays next year. And, yeah, my brother, I actually hope that I can bring him on the show again. He had a lot of fun during Heydays. All right, well, it's still adding. This is not a good sign, though. Not a good sign at all. So while we're waiting for Jared, though, again, we're talking about brand loyalty today. Even if we don't cover the topic today, we will get to it eventually. Jared and I had a pre-call, and we spent probably like 15 minutes just talking about all the things we could bring up, and it is just absolutely insane. We were like, yeah, we don't need any more topics. We could just talk about brand loyalty alone. Chris, device number 4. I'm out of devices to try here. This might be it. So I know Jared said he might be having some issues with his like a privacy setting potentially. So we could always try that too. But yeah, brand loyalty. We talked about like, is there a certain time frame where you should leave a company? Meaning like, could you be with a company too long? Or is there a time when like it hasn't been long enough? Is it 1 year? Is it 10 years? I don't know. So it's tough stuff. And we might not even talk about today. We'll see. So yeah, right now I still can't add Jared. So what I'd like for you to do is, people who are watching right now, the 10 folks that have stuck with me through the 3 iterations, go ahead and leave some comments, leave some questions, things that you might want to ask Jared, and we can kind of strategize on that too and come back. So we'll give it another 2 minutes or so, 3 minutes, and see if this thing works. But otherwise, leave those questions. We'll definitely get through and answer them. But yeah, and also, what else you want to see on this show? I mean, is there any special guests you'd love to have come on in the future, live or regular, the normal podcast? Let us know. I'm always open to suggestions. You can always shoot me an email at josh@sponsoredriderclubpodcast.com. Chad, welcome. So Chad just hopped on. Yeah, Chris Brandt, no doubt. I actually have been texting Chris Brandt, and I called him, and we're like pretty far away from actually getting him on the show. But he said, yes, that sounds great. So I'm pretty excited if I can one day work out to bring Chris Brandt on the show. But yeah, Mike Zebra helped connect us. So that would be amazing. All right, I'm trying one last time to add Jared, and then... Oh!
There we go, fellas.
Whoa!
Well, she works.
What was it?
I just had to exit and come back in.
No kidding.
Seems like it works.
That's good. So this phone I didn't charge ahead of time, and I don't have a backup charger here, so we'll see if I can make it the whole time.
Well, let's hope so, but I'm glad we were able to get together, so that's awesome.
All right, perfect. Well, hey, I blabbered on there for like 13 minutes. I was in stall mode for 13 minutes, and we actually had almost 13 people stick with us. So that's awesome. And I asked a couple people, I said, hey, what are some questions that you might want to hear once we do get Jared on the phone? And immediately we got some questions about your actual cans from MBRP. So Matt Howson had said, are the quiet trail cans the next big thing? What do you think about that?
Well, I definitely think it's a different segment for sure. I think it's something we've been asked for a long time for guys that still want performance benefits but want to save some weight. As us as enthusiasts too, like we want to promote, and respect the landowners that give us their riding trails and stuff like that too. I want to make sure, the sections of where our race cans are for, where our trail cans are for. And then for those sound conscious areas, you're really going to want that next level of, sound level. So I think this quiet series just opens up another opportunity for us and other riders. And it's something we obviously, like I said, in marketing, races for certain areas, off trail or, closed riding sections, trails for sound limited areas, or for those guys that, let's say you want to have a muff pod or something like that, or have, that, like I said, an aftermarket feel without those aftermarket decibels. So lots of opportunity for sure.
If I think about a lot of the restricted areas, I ride Michigan, and there's, Silver Lake Sand Dunes, for example, they're checking things. If you're out on the trails, there's lots of requirements. So I think that having the great sound, the improved sound, a little bit more power out on the trail, but not getting yourself in trouble, I think that's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the way we're going for sure. So
good deal. Well, look, we're here to talk about brand loyalty. I already blabbed on a little bit about it. I already told people what we're going to discuss. But, let's start with, what does it really mean? What does brand loyalty mean in this whole sponsorship world?
Well, I think even from sponsorship to even just overall company, it's all the same through and through. It's about building a relationship. You got to think about it long term. Everything from where the company sits to where you sit. Are you looking to establish a long term relationship? And it ultimately gives you more credibility. We're a tight knit group through the industry, and I know lots of people. And that, when you have a good relationship with one brand, it makes it easy for you to spread the word about, somebody to other brands and stuff like that too. But if you're like an AC Current, you're all over the place, it really kind of ruins your credibility and waters it down, for us to then promote you. So it makes it tough too. And it's ultimately just short-sightedness that way. Yeah,
definitely. First off, I don't think I've ever heard AC Current used on this show at all. So congrats, all the electrical engineers out there that are watching, all one of them that watch the show are like, ooh, that's exciting stuff. But no, I like that. That's a good description. For me, I've always thought of the brand loyalty as like, where do you actually devote your time to with like genuine good intentions? There's times when you can say, yeah, I'm supporting a company and maybe use their product a little bit, but you're not really passionate about it. It's not really something that, let's say if they didn't offer you support, you're not using it. I feel like true brand loyalty is when no matter what, you're using that product, you're super pumped about it, you want to talk about it. It just happens to be that, you're promoting the product as well.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're invested in a brand, whether it's through sponsorship or even just starting out, that even gives you more credibility too. Once you're invested in it and you promote it that way, that kind of gets you noticed too.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we had talked a little bit when we did the pre-interview about some of like the pros and cons of it too. Let's talk through some of that. You mentioned you've already alluded to a few pros, like the good reasons for brand loyalty. But let's elaborate on that. What are some of the other good things that you can think of if you've been with a brand or loyal to a brand for, multiple years?
As far as in terms of like an applicate, like to send in for sponsorship requests, or just kind of in general?
I guess probably what does it mean for sponsorship requests? What does it mean for your own personal brand? Which may mean opportunities for other things. And then what does it mean for your relationship with that company building, and how does that benefit you long term?
Yeah, absolutely. So it all comes back to just basically consistency. So if as soon as we get a sponsorship request or something like that, I automatically want to go and see what your structure is on social media and who do you promote, how do you promote it. Some of the pros are, okay, if you're consistent and you're invested in a certain brand and you like it, and maybe you're not sponsored by them yet, but you're building your profile to then hopefully one day attain that sponsorship. So that's definitely something good, is having a good profile and being consistent with it. Ultimately establishes your better loyalty towards that brand.
I just read a book. It was called The Power of Influence. It was written by Robert Cialdini, who's like one of the best salespeople in the world. And the whole thing is about like the science of influence. And honestly, what we're doing and what this show is all about is influencer marketing. That's what, brand ambassadors do. And basically what he said in this book, though, is the power of consistency, what it really does for, other humans and why they tend to believe that. So as soon as you are consistent, you make a decision and you're trying to behave accordingly to that decision, and then you veer off, people immediately question your integrity. They question, everything you've done prior to that. So that thing you mentioned about consistency, it's huge, not just in this. It's like that's how people evaluate characters.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's same. I think it goes through just life in general. Like, I mean, even back when I was, doing a bit of motocross, the saying I learned was speed is consistent and consistent is fast. It works through everything. So there's so many aspects and principles you can apply that to.
Yeah. One of the things too that I've always heard on this show, and actually when I was first researching doing a podcast, one of the things people said is be consistent. So if you're going to produce a show every week, produce a show every week. And never, ever falter on that. And I think the same goes for sponsorship. If you're going to commit to something, to a sponsor, you commit consistently. Do that same thing week in, week out. If you say, I'm going to do 3 posts a week on Instagram, do it. Or maybe 4, right? But always do those minimum 3 consistently.
Absolutely. Even when even on top of that, if you're consistent or you over deliver too, that just sets you that much further apart from other people as well too. Because I mean, power sports is for small of industry as it is, there's still lots of opportunity for people. But I mean, the ways you can set yourself apart is just doing those extra little steps for sure. If you say you're going to do a testimonial or something like that, then do, an Instagram video and then a write-up or something like that. Just do a couple of little extras. Really goes a long way. Ultimately, it comes back down to solid content too, and then how we can promote each other. So,
So I'm going to do the devil's advocate part here, okay? And we talked a little bit about this before. There might be some cons. What are the cons of brand loyalty? Let's say I've been with a company for 10 years, got an amazing relationship, or maybe it's not amazing. I don't know. Could there be any downside to something like that?
Well, I think you have to look at it again. It comes back to long term. So, what's the long term sight of the company? Are they continue to grow and produce and push, or are things kind of fading? It's kind of one of those things. Is which way is it trending, and then ultimately again, how does that relate to you? If things are kind of getting a bit, I'm not saying rough, or there's some issues with product or something like that, response times or your overall relationship, maybe things are getting a bit muddy. It's kind of one of those things. If it's kind of getting a bit unstable, you can still professionally end it. It's not like things have to get messy, but ultimately do what's best for you if you feel that's something in jeopardy.
Yeah, this is for me, I think one of the more challenging things. If you think, it's been this way for a long time. Maybe it's 8 to 10 years, right? And maybe it has been a great relationship, but something has changed. Maybe you are no longer as consistent as you used to be, or maybe they are no longer as consistent. Maybe they had a change in management, and now you're looking at the program and saying, either I'm not able to deliver to the original expectations, or they're not able to deliver to the original expectations. Do we continue because we're loyal to one another, or do we have to decide to separate?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that ultimately just comes down to a conversation. If you have that good of a relationship at the end, or that's the way it's tapering, you guys should be able to discuss that out. But, coming back to your image, let's circle back to that real quickly.
Yeah.
Again, if something does go sideways or something, let's say you just want to end the relationship, always, keep your head above water and stuff like that too. And on your social media platforms, never knock anybody. That's something that ultimately just is a bad reflection of you. If that relationship does have to end too. So, if you went to brand X and now you're with brand Y, just discuss the benefits of brand Y. Don't have to say anything bad about the other brand. People aren't dumb. People will pick up on the fact that you've changed something and there's certain features and benefits that have advantages of this company, and it's pretty easy to see.
Yeah, I've reminded people on this show before, and I'll say it again because I think it's important. Whatever you say negatively about a brand can easily be captured, in this day and age. I mean, whether it's on a screenshot or, an email forward or any one of those things, but probably screenshots are the most dangerous ones right now. You type in a message like, oh, these people are scumbags, blah, blah, blah. Well, that ends up, on some sort of social media page. It just happens to go viral. And, now both that brand and yourself have, a tarnished image. And maybe it's rooted in truth, but maybe not. Maybe it's just some personal frustrations that came out that shouldn't really negatively impact either part of the party. Yeah.
No, absolutely, for sure. It can be perceived several different ways. It's best just to leave it alone, really. Breaking stuff.
I just dropped my other phone, which I don't want to look at it right now because the case, I had taken it off earlier so I could plug my microphone in. So I don't want to look at it right now. We'll just check that thing out a little bit later.
Yeah.
Well, we talked a little bit about what it could mean if you ignore it. So let's say you forget about brand loyalty and you're not really paying attention to it. So what I'm thinking of is, what's the perception if somebody is, I'll use gear manufacturers for an example, just because, there's a lot of them out there. So we'll go like snowmobile gear manufacturers. So what if you're with FXR 1 year and then HMK 1 year and then Motorfist 1 year and then Climb 1 year? What does that start doing if you're ignoring the loyalty piece? What does that start doing over time?
Yeah, that kind of, I think, starts devaluing your weight in social media, or your weight as a racer. I mean, you could be, in my opinion, you could be the best guy out there, but if you're going from brand to brand to brand, that's, again, just devaluing you. And you can't, it's showing your inability to build a relationship with a company. If there's a reason you don't like the products, kind of a role in being sponsored as, I've learned through this myself, or sponsoring riders. It's something you have to provide feedback. That's why we're working together. We use the content we create together, but ultimately, if there's something good, we want to know about it. And if there's something that we can improve on, we really want to know about it, because ultimately, constructive criticism is ultimately where the growth is. And that's just what helps move you and the company forward. So yeah, just to circle back that, if you're hopping from brand to brand, it puts a bad taste in your mouth. And I've seen that before, through other riders and stuff like that out there that have been with several brands. And and again, like I said, it's a small industry. Like people, people are well connected in this industry, whether it's in hard parts or clothing or thing like that. We all talk, we see each other at dealer shows and stuff like that. So it's not hard to mention so-and-so, has hopped from this and this and brand. What do you think of him? And it's easy for a few of us to kind of say, yeah, he's a great guy, or no, it just wouldn't work out. I wouldn't suggest it.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah. And Chad Shoemaker had commented to another con, which is kind of linked to this, if the brand is stale and they're not being innovative. And one of the ways I look at that is you might be contributing to that, if you're not providing adequate feedback. So if you're not with a company, let's say for multiple years, you might not be able to give good, solid feedback on, the adaptation of their product over time, or the adaptation of their marketing scheme over time. So that's just another way of looking at it.
No, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, if they're kind of starting to flatline or whatever, or they're not, like you said, innovation, that's ultimately key. Like just on our side of things, to kind of toot our own horn. I mean, we're always trying to, reinvent new products. We're trying to push new industries. Like side by side is huge for us right now. And then even this thing with the QuiCam, we're trying to kind of, be innovative. We're trying to help out and address some of the noise concerns, because we don't want to be contributing to, losing trails. We make cans that are loud, absolutely. But, it's hard to kind of dictate where those are used. We do our best to market that, where those are for. but we can only do so much. So.
Yeah, and riders that are running, say, a can, right? Like, so Sean Endel, he was on here earlier. He's been running MBRP stuff for a while. He could give you feedback like, hey, I was riding last week and I got stopped by somebody, someone from, the DNR or some sort of regulatory agency, and they said, hey, can we check the, how loud your can is? And he's like, I don't want to deal with that. So he could give you that feedback if that were to happen, and you can bring that back to your team and make changes accordingly.
Absolutely.
Well, good. Well, hey, I just got my 10% battery warning because this phone was not fully charged. And I don't have my spare. Look at this. I got this charger. I could run for like 3 days on my other phone, but not this one. So I'm going to start with hopping into some of the questions here. I know we had one already. Let's see. It just popped up here. Just got to go back and find it. Oh, it was a comment here from Chad again. So when I see a race team that promotes a brand for multiple years, I remember that it shows me that they are not jumping from brand to brand, chasing the money. So what do you think about that comment there? Chasing the money.
Sorry, say that. I want to say that again.
Yeah, can you see it yourself?
Yeah, sorry. So when I see a race team that promotes a brand for multiple years, I remembered that. It shows me they're not jumping from brand to brand, chasing the money. Yeah, because sometimes it depends too. Some other, like let's say you're a top race team that you'll have, maybe different brands that want you to run their product, and maybe they're willing to pay a bit more. That ultimately solidifies a team's loyalty once you, if you're sticking with that, even though there's another brand out there that's willing to pay more. So that's ultimately the foundation of your relationship too. So it's huge.
Yeah, and I'll tell you just one thing. The chasing the money comment sticks out to me because part of being an effective influencer is putting your passion behind a product or something you're trying to sell, whether it's a product or a service. And if the perception is there that you are just doing it for a paycheck, even though people know that sometimes, right? Like people might know, yes, they are doing this for a paycheck. Once you create that perception and that's top of mind, you lose credibility in the sale as well. So people are no longer as open to listening to you and saying, well, yeah, I heard him say that about the last product. I'm not actually going to listen to him. I'll go find somebody else who's more genuine.
Absolutely, for sure. That's a great point, being genuine too. When you're there to actually truly provide value for your sponsors and the guys that are looking up to you, that all comes back to that for sure.
Definitely. Well, hey, I'm going to kind of cut things a couple of minutes short here. I would love to go on and on, but I am going to be dying. My phone's going to be dying here shortly. Then I don't want to lose the video. So what I want people to do, if you're listening to this, whether it's on the replay or if you end up listening to the audio show, go ahead and send your questions over here. You can, if you're listening to replay, you can type them in the comments, and Jared or myself can go back later and answer those. If not, you can shoot me an email, josh@sponsoredriderclubpodcast.com. We'll make sure you get those questions answered. Jared, do you have anything just in the final words for closing?
I think that's it, guys. So appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll definitely be back for another live feed, I'm sure, one of these days.
Sounds great. Well, hey, you all take care, have fun, and ride safe.